Miguel, pull up right here. Yes! Oh, Miguel with the shot.
Got there, but he can't finish it. 2 straight trips down the court. Alexander now with the semi-Euro step getting the ball inside.
Able to take advantage of the numbers there. Now backpedaling. Good pass by Singletary.
Shooting against Lin. We go to Boyd. Spins inside. Met by Garcia. Garcia with the denial.
On this episode of ABL Recap, we break down the 4 games featuring the 8 squads in action in our supersized Sunday.
Subscribe and click the bell icon to get notified of the latest videos of the ABL. Follow all of our social media accounts and visit our website for more updates.
What's going on, everyone? And thank you so much for joining us on this episode of ABL Recap. He's Carlo Pamintuan. My name is Chuck Araneta. We've got a lot to get to on this episode, and we start with the most exciting game of that Sunday evening and afternoon, which is the KL Dragons taking on the Formosa Dreamers. What a win that was. The Dragons with a 1-point win, 80-79. And we gotta go straight to the fourth quarter, Carlos. So many big baskets featuring guys like Amir Bell and Anthony Tucker trading 3-pointers and layups. And boy, that was just a fun, old-fashioned, back and forth game that a lot of fans, especially in the first game of the Dragons at home, were able to witness.
It was only fitting that it would be the first home game at the Macau Stadium for the Kuala Lumpur Dragons. Their fans were ready to cheer for their team, and they got a good one. We all thought, though, that Anthony Tucker's 3-point shot late in the game would be enough to power the Formosa Dreamers to victory, as usual. Because, when Formosa banks on Tucker to step up in the end game, it usually results to a win. But this time around, the KL Dragons had a leader within them in Amir Bell, as he erased the defense of Kenny Chen with that nice move. Actually floored his defender before sinking that mid-range jumper. This is something, Chuck, that we have not seen from the KL Dragons. Yes, they won a few games at the buzzer, but the leadership that is consistent, we have not seen this from them since they won the championship with, of course, Coach Ariel Van Guardia leading them, Jason Brickman, Matthew Wright, a couple of very good players, very good imports at that. And it's refreshing to see them compete like this again. Like they're not supposed to be a bottom-ranked team. They want to make a case for themselves as one of the favorites in this season.
And, leading the way, of course, was their leading scorers were actually Will Artino and Cade Davis. But you mentioned Amir Bell, and his stat line of 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists may not really jump out, but if you're the Dragons, you just like that you've got someone who can be a playmaker and also can be your scorer down the stretch. And you've also got to give a shout out to Lo Shifai, one of the OGs of the KL Dragons, who also came off the bench and scored 11 points for his team. Now, on the other side, Jaron Young, another impressive performance to cap off a nice little Player of the Week run.
Outstanding numbers throughout for Jaron Young. He averaged 24 points, 13.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 3 steals per game in this week. And we did not have a team that went undefeated, actually, in this week for the ABL. So the award was given to Jaron Young, edging out OJ Mayo for another. It's what would have been his 3rd Player of the Week honors, but Jaron Young has been spectacular, has been consistent. Maybe you just want him to shoot a little better from the field, but so far so good for Jaron Young. Unfortunately for the Formosa Dreamers, even his good performance and Anthony Tucker's were not enough to tie them over and get them a win on the road against the Dragons.
So the Dreamers failing to make it 4 in a row, they fall to 5-6 on the season. While the Dragons are in second place, they pick up the win and climb to 4 wins and 2 losses. And now the next match is the Singapore Slingers taking on the San Miguel Alab Pilipinas. And boy, this was not close at all.
Losing skid for the Singapore Slingers. They lost 3 straight games with a bad one at home against the Saigon Heat. And in that particular ball game, Chuck, it was Xavier Alexander who struggled mightily. He scored 9 points in the game, committed 8 turnovers. So he really hurt his squad. But as Xavier Alexander is, he does not forget about his bad
No, he
games
doesn't.
by just simply
Rolling over,
rolling over to the next one and coming up with a big time performance. My goodness, almost a quadruple double for Xavier Alexander. 31 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, and a whopping 8 steals. From 8 turnovers to 8 steals. That was a game changer for the Singapore Slingers as they scored an easy victory at home against San Miguel Alab, Pilipinas.
The Slingers were able to lead by as many as 32 points in that contest. And really, the key stat was Alab Pilipinas shot 4 of 14 from the three-point line. And that's strange when you look at this team that has guys like Jeremiah Gray, King, who are really knockdown shooters. Just did not work for Alab in that game. And now the next one is the Saigon Heat. They battle against Mono Vampire, and for the second straight game, Mono Vampire held the Heat to only 64 points, and they won by 21, 85 to 64. And it was a strange game, you would say, Carlo, for the Heat, because they had 2 new imports in the lineup, guys like Torian Graham, and the surprise exit of Chris Charles. In comes the new guy in Moraquinho Williams, and Graham had a solid performance, 18 points and 9 boards, but Williams was really a non-factor, only 7 points and 7 rebounds.
For me, it's really tough to win in the ABL with 1 new import. If you make it 2 new imports, that's
tough.
Basically impossible, going up against a really strong team in Mono Vampire as well, who had their own import situation, because Ryan Watkins was not in the ball game. So it remains to be seen what Watkins' status is for Mono Vampire moving forward. But for the Saigon Heat, I think this will continue to be a process for them. I'm not sure if their current import lineup would be enough to power them to a good spot in the playoffs. So we know Coach Kevin Yurkus and how he has an eye for talent. It will be a continued search for them if this unit does not work out in the next couple of games.
I think the good thing, though, about this Mono team is, if you remember last season for Mono, they tried to run small ball, and they had Singletary as a small ball center. And without Watkins, basically Singletary had to play some center minutes. But it gave more time for the guards, guys like Noporn Saingtong, who finished with 15 points and 7 boards. And they can get away with this from time to time, especially against the Heat team that struggled. But you've got to imagine Mono Vampire will be looking to try to fill up that center slot if ever Watkins will not be available moving forward.
They got away with this because they did not have to defend the center. If Chris Charles was there getting rebounds, being a presence in the shaded area, it could have been a factor. But as you said, their new import Williams only scored 7 points, grabbed 7 rebounds. He was 1 of 6 from the field. So you did not have to put a lot of attention on Williams, which allowed Mono Vampire to simply play their game, as Preston Knowles gets his first ever ABL triple-double with 14 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists in that ballgame.
So the Mono Vampire Basketball Club remain at number 1 with 6-2 record. And on the other hand, the Heat fall to 1-3 on the season. And now for the final game of the supersized Sunday of action in the ABL. It is the Macau Wolf Warriors losing their 3rd straight game against, as they lost to the Taipei Fubon Braves, 104-89. And the Braves just continue to roll behind guys like OJ Mayo, of course, and Maxi Esho. And shout out also to Chuck Garcia. We don't talk about Garcia enough, but he has been one of the most consistent, hardworking imports thus far in the ABL.
Automatic double-double almost, game in and game out for Chuck Garcia. Before this game, he was averaging 20.2 points, 9.9 rebounds. Again, provided his team with 19 points, 9 rebounds. So really, it's automatic for him. It does not veer away too much from those kind of numbers. So you game in and game out, you know what to expect from Chuck Garcia. Of course, OJ Mayo, being a former NBA player, will get all the press, will get all the headlines, but he would not work out without the presence of someone inside, someone doing the dirty work like Garcia.
You also got to love the second unit of the Braves that were able to contribute really good numbers, especially with Tseng Wen-Ting scoring 9 points and 3 boards for the Braves. On the other side, again, the wait just continues for Doug Herring. Mike Bell, his replacement world import, had a solid outing actually. Looks like he was really able to get acclimated to this team. But there's really a question of because when Doug Herring was there, it just gave the Wolf Warriors an identity that they're still trying to look for right now.
Almost a triple-double for Miguel, 18, 16, and 8. Great numbers in his second game with the Macau Wolf Warriors for this season. But as you said, Chuck, in their past iteration with Douglas Herring there, you had two able playmakers. You had Ewing and you had Herring. And then either one of those players can spot up for the jumper. But it was Herring mostly doing the playmaking opportunities, which left Ewing to just focus on draining long shots. Now that cannot happen because he is all of a sudden their main guard right now. And you saw the struggles of Ewing in that particular contest. He was 2 of 11 from the field, only 3 assists in the ball game. Miguel tried to do his best with the point guard, with the playmaking duties, but it would prove to be not enough to secure a victory again. It is a weight because we know the caliber of Douglas Herring. We know what he brings to the table. His championship experience and his leadership is sorely missed right now in this losing skid for the Macau Wolf Warriors.
Well, the Wolf Warriors fall to 3 wins and 7 losses, holding on to that 8th seed. But the Hong Kong Eastern and Heat are starting to, are at least trying to climb up there. And on the other side, the Braves are in 3rd with an 8-4 record. So that is going to do it for a supersized episode of your ABL recaps. And just to remind everyone once again about the upcoming schedule, on Tuesday you've got the Heat back in action against the Macau Black Bears. They will be in the Venetian in Macau. And on Wednesday it is a doubleheader as the KL Dragons will take on the Mono Vampire.
That'll be a good game.
Battle of the 1 and 2 teams. And our second one will be the Hong Kong Eastern as they try to climb and get to within striking distance against the Macau Wolf Warriors. So that's going to do it for Carlo Pomintu and for myself, Chuck Araneta, and we will see you on the next episode.